However, this particular hearing that happened today disturbed me because I do not expect this from our agencies. I do not expect this from our government administration, from our scientists, from our leaders, especially being from the medical community, from the medical organizations, medical agencies. Today was a select committee hearing for the corona pandemic, in which they were interviewing, or they were discussing. The hearing was with Dr. David Moren, who was the senior scientific advisor to the NIAID, NIH director, I believe, Dr. Tony Fauci. I have some written statements. You can actually probably feel that I am not coherent because I'm just so upset that I was able to experience this. I used to suspect that they're calling in favors. I used to suspect that agencies are being lazy. I saw the evidence today and it disturbed me. So I might read some things that I've written because I just want to have that coherence when I'm talking about it. But I want you to kind of listen to some parts of it. It's a 2 hour long hearing, so I'm not going to go over all of it. I would request you to watch that. I'm just going to go over a few parts just to show you the conduct of our scientific leaders at the time when our nation and the whole world was going through the most difficult times of our life. Let's see. And please do tell me if the audio is okay. I'm going to play this. So this is Dr. Wenstrup, and he is starting to ask questions. I am just moving through this hearing instead of going from the beginning.
You wrote, I can either send stuff to Tony Fauci on his private email or hand it to him at work or at his house. Did you ever send information related to COVID-19 to Dr. Fauci's personal email?
I don't remember if I did. I may have, but I certainly told him some things that he asked me to tell him about the situation with Peter.
Thank you. On May 13th, 2021, you wrote that you connected a reporter to Dr. Fauci via your secret back channel. What back channel did you have for Dr. Fauci?
Well, all these terms like secret back channel and the other one you mentioned were just jokes. They're just, jokes that I've made in dealing with Peter because he was under death threats and was very depressed. And it was sort of.
So I'm going to spare you the remaining explanation. What he says is that the back channel was actually the regular channel. Dr. Tony Fauci didn't want to meet with the people directly. So we would have a committee where people would come in and say that we want to talk with Fauci, and then they would decide what is the right thing to do, etc. He is all over the place in his messaging here. Sometimes he says that I did not know that FOIA, how does that work? Sometimes he would say, I did not know that my emails, personal or official emails, were the federal records. He clearly conducted a lot of his business, in my opinion, through his personal emails too, but then he said that was not official business. So what I would like you to hear some part of this discussion, and then one of the representatives actually read out his emails. And I believe that, of course, this is a GOP-led committee, but I think it is beyond the politics. This committee should be there or not there. COVID time had Trump and Biden both. These bureaucrats that were in the agencies, they spanned across the spectrum of politics. So it is not about politics, it's about what was happening in there. And I saw this little glimpse of what was happening, and it bothered me. So let's hear a little more of this.
Sort of the group of people who were Peter's friends were trying to cheer him up by making snarky jokes and euphemisms that were, not true. But there was no back channel. The back channel was
we were going through this hard time. People were dying. We were getting worried about what would happen. There were interventions that were asked to be taken for sure. First, we were waiting for them. Then these were imposed. People were losing their jobs. And they were making snarky jokes. If you hear this whole 2 hours, it is such a disappointment from our seniors. So these folks are our seniors. I'm a medical doctor, so they are medical doctors too. So they are sitting in senior positions. Seeing this kind of a behavior from our seniors is disappointing. I'm going to go to an important part. Everyone is important here, but I want to go here to have you listen to the kind of emails Dr. Moren was sending. So check this out.
Earlier today, you said, sir, Tony, meaning Tony Fauci, does not want me to connect anything to him. And when asked by my colleagues, did you use personal email for official business? Your answer was, I didn't think it was doing official business. And then just now you said.
So others were asking him that, did you do your official business through your personal Gmail account? And he said no. Or he said, if I did, I did not know that I shouldn't have done. Now, check out his emails. She's going to read his emails.
Not intentionally. Let me read some of the emails. The first email from you says, P.S. I forgot to say there is no worry about FOIAs. I can either send stuff to Tony on his private email or hand it to him at work or at his house. He's too smart to let colleagues send him stuff that could cause trouble. Next email from you said, I suggested Arthur try to interview Tony, meaning Tony Fauci, directly and connected him to our secret back channel. He emailed Tony a few hours ago. Next email from you. I forgot to clarify in my email yesterday that both my Gmail and phone calls are now safe. Text is not, as it can be FOIA'd, as can my great government email. So you and Peter Dasek, and others should be able to email me on Gmail only, with the caveat that no other government employee is copied at a government address, as all government emails are potentially FOIAble. Next email from you. This is sent from my Gmail account. Please send all replies here to Gmail. There are things I can't say except Tony is aware, and I have learned that there are ongoing efforts within NIH to steer through this with minimal damage to you, Peter, and colleagues, and to NIH and NIAID. Next email, Jerry. My private Gmail account is where I sent this from after forwarding to myself from my NIH account. Please try to send only to my Gmail, as we are doing a couple weeks ago, but I messed up a few times and sent them from my NIH account because on my phone, the two are merged. And then when you respond by hitting reply, it goes to NIH. After some recent issues, I'm going to try to strictly use only my Gmail in these discussions.
So I just want to clarify one thing, that when they asked him that what did these emails mean, he said, I was trying to protect this person, this company EcoHealth, and this person who was receiving death threats, do not know why. And so to protect him from those death threats, he did not want that person's personal information end up in official emails. So to protect him from FOIA, he asked him to communicate with him over Gmail because Gmail cannot be FOIA'd. However, as you can hear these emails, these are not some personal discussions with friends. These are official businesses. And his claim is that this was to protect that person.
Then the next email. I learned from our FOIA lady here how to make emails disappear after I FOIA'd, but before the search starts. So I think we are all safe. But I deleted most of these earlier emails after sending them to Gmail. Next email. With the help of our IT folks, I went over the whole computer and phone situation. Basically, my Gmail is now safe from FOIA. Thus, it should be safe to communicate safely with you, Peter, and others as long as we use my private email, Gmail. I ask you both that nothing in large letters, cap letters, gets sent to me except to my Gmail. Sir, I believe you have lied here today to us, to Congress, when you say, oh, I didn't know this. I didn't intentionally use my Gmail. Are you kidding me? Dr. Morens, do you want to change your testimony?
No, I don't, because I think that the context, all these, there's so many of these emails you just mentioned, I can't even remember them all, but the context is that this Gmail communication thing was set up purely to deal with personal things that were not government business. And then other people.
Sir, with all due respect, how can you say that when you clearly, in all these emails were intentionally avoiding FOIA? You said it in your own words, sir.
Well, but so let's talk about what you mean by intentionally avoiding FOIA. I don't consider that telling them don't send me things because they could get FOIA'd is intentionally avoiding FOIA, because those are personal things. And with respect to my NIH email, I couldn't possibly avoid FOIA because I had no control.
Sir, did you use in most of these emails your official signature? It said, David M. Morens, OD, NIAID, NIH. These were official.
Well, let me tell you something else I didn't mention.
And you forwarded from your NIH email to your personal email, and you said it right in your email.
I learned only about a year ago that the fusion of my Gmail on my email and my NIH email on my phone had another side effect too. And by the way, I finally got IT to take that off, to get rid of it. So there's no more Gmail email fusion. But after I asked them to take it off, I realized that if a Gmail or NIH email came to me and I replied to it, for some reason there was a default where the signature I had on Gmail, which said David Morens of Bethesda, Maryland or something, didn't go out, but the NIH email went out. I don't know how that happened. I didn't do it consciously. It's
Sir, I'm
confusing, and I tried
sorry.
to do it
I just don't believe you. And I yield back.
So there are, I believe, Republicans here, there are Democrats here as well. So all are worth listening. So it is not, in my opinion, listening to these emails and seeing how the discussions were going on in the emails that, hey, we have figured out the ways to avoid FOIA, or we have deleted the communication that could have ended up in FOIA, or the FOIA lady told me how to hide the emails or remove the emails that could end up in FOIA. That all, he said that this was all, he's ashamed of it. He is sorry for this, and he should not have done it. In there are some profanities as well. There are some, he asked at one point for a kickback from this company as well. So he says that he's embarrassed, he's ashamed, he apologized for all of this. The select committee members were saying this is illegal, so he would face that as well. But this kind of conduct was going on. I'm sure that the message will be that there are always some bad apples, and he was one of them. Or maybe he was not even a bad apple, he just was not sensible enough to understand how to communicate. And he was there for 48 years. He claimed that during his trainings, he was never taught, or he never understood, that these emails and communications are federal records. Can you imagine somebody being 48 years in this agency, getting trained as well, and then claim that I did not know what is federal record? So for me, forget about select committees, and should the committee should be there or not, should they be looking into this or not. What is interesting for me is our scientific leaders were doing this when we were in trouble. I thought they would be all heads down working from our side. Doesn't matter Republicans or Democrats or independents, from us as Americans, as human beings side. And that was not happening, at least not in this case, in my opinion. Of course, they would say this is a rare case, this is very rare case, and they would not define what rare meant, maybe just this one person. So I had this is the last a few minutes, if I can indulge you. I have never done this before, but I wrote down what I felt when I listened to this 2 hours. I listened to the whole 2 hours, and 2 hours or 1 hour, 30, 40 minutes, whatever it was. So would you indulge me for me to just present to you some of my thoughts that I wrote down? So I wrote down that they were hiding information from the public by evading FOIA. They deleted government records. They may have worked with FOIA officers for the illegal action of deleting these records. They were making fun of people during this process in their email. They were coaching the grantees, the people who were getting grants. They were coaching them, helping them wordsmith, helping them figure out communications. They were writing in their communication that how clever or how smart their leader is, who would not let any smoking gun directly communicate with him, or any incriminating communication. They were making jokes about kickbacks. He said that I never received anything. So it's not that he went and he got anything of value or gift or money. That's what they asked them, and he said no. So I believe it. He's under oath. So if he said no, then he didn't get it. But he was talking with this company that wanted to have a grant to work with them. They were asking for, hey, it's a lot of money. Would I have a kickback? And the company was saying, yes, you will have a. How can this kind of language even appear in these communications that would create even the sense of impropriety is wrong? And they had it. And they were doing this when we were the most vulnerable. And they were defeating us at that time by doing these things instead of working for us. And for us, they had these communications, you're not a horse, you're not a cow. They had these kind of things for the people while they were doing this behind the scene. So maybe at the end of the day, the investigation would reveal that this all was a misunderstanding, and he was not sensible enough to say what is the right way of communicating, and he mixed these things because he had been doing it for 48 years and nobody cared. And then during this COVID, all of these committees formed and FOIA happened, and the same conduct got caught. So maybe that would be the outcome. But seeing this, if you listen to this 2 hours and listen to it neutrally, don't become a Republican or a Democrat or an independent, just a human being, and just listen to these emails. And I don't think that you would appreciate the way the business was being conducted. The business of serving us was being conducted. I think they were like generals, the war generals who found us in a war and who were supposed to protect us. And instead of protecting us, they were actually defeating us for those who had money. That was it was a betrayal. They did actually ask him, they said, did you betray your colleagues, your nation, your country? And he said, no, I don't think it is a betrayal. did think it was a mistake and he apologized, but he said betrayal would mean I intentionally did it. I did not intentionally do all of this. His email communications show it the other way. So I feel that this was a betrayal. I hope and I pray that this was just one person doing this, but my suspicion is it was not just one person. So disappointing, discouraging, it was not expected. And he was quite sorry for this. He did say that he's sorry. He did apologize for this. So I understand his position. Maybe at the end of the investigation, he would come out as innocent as well. But these emails and the communications were just simply wrong. And at the time of our hard time doing this by those who were supposed to protect us, who were supposed to serve us, that was the only time they had this job to actually actively serve us. And they didn't do the right thing, in my opinion. So with this, I would see you maybe tomorrow, day after. But anyways, I would request to you to watch this and see various representatives, their questions, hear the answers, have a neutral mind, but just keep thinking this is what was happening in those agencies when we were going through this time. So with this, thank you very much, and I would see you tomorrow. I did feel one more thing, and I was holding my tongue to say it, and I'm seeing a comment. To me, it seemed like, if you listen to this whole communication, to me, it seemed like he was taking the side of a rich friend. He did not get anything from him, from this rich friend. But that rich friend and that rich friend's richness or whatever was so important for him, it was so enamoring for him that he lost his duty to us and he was carrying his water. And he colored it by saying, well, that person was receiving death threats and his family was receiving death threats and his daughters were receiving death threats. So that is why I was trying to cheer him up and support him. And we were all passing through the most risky time. Nobody knew who would die, who would get COVID and die, who would get this cytokine storm and die. Nobody had any idea what would happen. And they were cheering up this one friend. It really disappointed me. Okay, talk to you later. Bye for now. And sorry for this late transmission.